Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're actually we're live on Instagram and YouTube today. Have been going only on YouTube for a while, but decided, hey, why not bring it back to Instagram as well? While we wait for some people to roll in here, let me go ahead and update you on this week's releases. We have a really fun week ahead of us. I actually didn't realize this was this cool of a week of releases in disc golf, but we got some cool stuff. So first off, I want to re-highlight some of last week's drops. So we have some foundation custom stamps. So this is a Zone OS with the Building Your Game stamp. This was originally just in our Black Friday mystery boxes, but now they're live on the site, so that's fun. We also have the Foundation Modern stamp, we're calling it. This is on a Halo Star Destroyer, but we also have Halo Star Wraiths, Champ Toros, Champ Its, all kinds of fun stuff. So those are live on the site right now. And then what dropped yesterday, that's pretty cool, was from All Season Long on Grip Locked, one of our podcasts if you don't listen to it. We did, or all off season long, I should say, we did this segment called In the Bag, where basically we all answered a prompt, put it out there anonymously. People responded, whoever they thought won. Whoever won the season long thing got a custom stamp disc. That happened to be me. And we said it was going to be like a wrestling themed People's Champ disc. So that just came in. I'll show YouTube first. So you got the People's Champ Trail is now live on the site. So you got me flying off the top rope, Trevor laying on the bottom, about to get the People's Elbow dropped on him. Connor's the ref. Really fun, 2 foils. So the People's Champs in like gold, and then the background's like this gradient. So that's on a trail. We dropped these yesterday. We've sold probably 70% of them, so there's still some left on the site, but not a ton. I'd imagine these are probably going to go this weekend, so if you want to get your hands on one, you haven't yet. Also, the trail is just a hot commodity right now, so it's also just a great time to get your hands on a trail. In addition to that, dropping this week, we have some more custom stamped MVP, our like Heck Yeah stamp. If y'all remember that one, we're bringing that back this week. So the Heck Yeah stamped Glitch, Range, Detour, Hex, and Watt are going to be dropping on Friday. We also, I think this is releasing today, if I'm not mistaken, the MVP pre-order for the Special Edition Balance, the Stock Balance, the Stock Tempo, the Total Eclipse Envy, and I believe it's a Total Eclipse Proxy. So those are all dropping, I believe, today, the pre-order for them. The actual disc will probably drop in a few weeks. Also, DGA's Tour Series comes out this week, which is in their granite plastic, which is like, it's I think it's pretty much the same as this, which is like Z Jawbreaker. But it's DGA's Tour Series, so that drops this week as well. We have some new Castaplast stuff, some Tour Series, it looks like, the Edug, the Yarn, and the Rico. Dropped yesterday was the Trash Panda phone case inner cores. I don't know if you saw those. They recycled phone cases and made them into inner cores, which is a really cool idea. And then we also have the start of a big Discraft restock. So with all the other stuff releasing this week, the Discraft restock definitely won't fully get up, but it's the start of a big Discraft restock. So probably over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have pretty much every Discraft mold you could want will be back in stock. So exciting week of restocks going on over on the sites. Check out foundationdisc.com for all of that. Yeah, Shay just asked if we'll pre-order yesterday's drops. Yes, so MVP stuff will be pre-ordering very soon. So I have some questions from Instagram, but I feel like the main talking thing I want to go through, because I'll take live questions from the chat on Instagram and here on YouTube. But one thing I think some of y'all are going to be interested in, actually Trey Langston asked about this, which is talk about the behind the scenes of the Amazing Race video. So what all went into it, planning. So the Amazing Race video, if you didn't see, it was one of the longest videos that's ever dropped on our channel. It came in at 1 hour and 20 minutes. And it's been received very well so far. We're really, really excited about it. It was an idea that we've had for a while, and this was kind of our test for it, because obviously Imposter Disc Golf, that whole reality series went very well during the off season. We're bringing it back again this year. You should start seeing some stuff about that soon. The Imposter reality series itself will drop in November, but I think we're going to film it in like July, roughly. So we knew the reality type show series stuff will do well. we had an idea for bringing Amazing Race to disc golf. And our original grand idea that we will now probably execute on later was basically to go to somewhere we don't actually know that well, like go to like Charlotte or go to Raleigh or really any heavily populated disc golf area where there's a bunch of disc golf courses, and have all the teams there, and then do the similar thing, because then there would be more of like, we're trying to figure out what course we're going to, yada yada yada, and have more teams involved. But before we like committed heavily to doing a bunch of that, right, like sending a bunch of teams down to a place, having hotels, having all that stuff, we were like, we need to test this idea and see if people even care. So that's what we did with this video, and it's been great. So we tested it locally. We had Brad and Jason. Basically, we told them this is the rough idea. It does need to have like timelines on it because we're trying to fit it into one filming day. There was more rules behind the scenes. So like we would read the rules of the challenge. And then like, if I don't think I have a piece of paper, but if this was like the rules of the challenge, right? And it would be like the rule that we read to the public's up here. And then there's like 5 or 6 rules below it. So that we were all playing by the same set of rules, and so on and so forth. So Brad and Jason fully planned it out, and they were actually like kind of the moderators. They were there at every challenge, making sure everyone was playing by the rules and so on and so forth. And so it went great. I think it went off pretty much without a hitch. Really the only negative or the downside was people didn't like my play at Sandusky, standing in front of the tee pad. But I think at the end of the day, it got a lot of engagement. It was, well within the rules. Some people were saying it was cheating, which was funny, but I mean, it was well within the rules. It was, whether was it like very, whatever. That was the only downside of the whole video. But, I think that overall people really received it well. And so now we can bring in more people, more teams, definitely get like a Brody Kelsey team in, try to get some other creators in, and make the Amazing Race into a bigger thing now that we've seen it happen and seen it work. So overall though, it wasn't like some big undertaking. Like it took us one day of filming. It took Brad and Jason probably one day of planning. And yeah, it's went great. So I'm super stoked about it. Everyone here is super stoked about it. And we'll definitely be bringing it back. I think it went well. So trying to think if there was anything else. Those are all the fun releases. That's a little insight into last week. But yeah, let's get some questions rolling. I'll start with some of the ones from Instagram stories, and then if y'all have any questions, throw them in the chat, either on YouTube or on Instagram, wherever you're watching, and we'll just let the show go where y'all lead it. So this one, I think Manus1996 asked a question I think a lot of people have, and I've explained it once or twice before, but I've explained it all over the place, so I don't know exactly where, so it'll be good to explain it again. Which Manus said, why can't we choose to have an overstable, understable, or mixed subscription box? So the logistics of our subscription box, how it works, is we each and every month are ordering the discs specifically for the subscription box. So we are never putting in like, I have a Trash Panda Canyon on my desk, right? We're never like, oh, we ordered 2,000 canyons and we only sold 500 of them. So there's 1,500 canyons sitting around. Let's just throw that in next month's subscription box, right? That never happens. And so instead what we're doing is we have X amount of subscribers. We're trying to grow it to X amount the next month. So we order those specific discs specifically for the subscription box. The one new change we implemented this year this month, is we now have a 2-disc and a 3-disc box, because I think one of the big feedback points we got was $45 for a subscription box, even though the values there is a lot of money. So we are able to now provide value at $32 for a 2-disc box. So that is one implementation or change we made. But why we can't do overstable, understable, mixed sub box is because then all of the discs wouldn't be the same. Across the board, we'd have, maybe we'll just say we had 300 subscribers perfectly separated. We'd have 100, 100, 100 at overstable, understable, mixed, right? And then you don't know where it's going to grow to. So now we'd have to be ordering much more stock discs, much less custom discs. The theme wouldn't exist. and it would be probably just turn into a random mystery box of stock discs, which we do at different points throughout the year, like mystery boxes. But the sub boxes, we want people to know they're being hand selected. It's based on a theme. These are curated boxes. We're also very aware of, we try not to like have, if we put a buzz in a box in January, another buzz isn't going to go into a box unless it's a super special edition for a long time, maybe even a full year or more. We try to be very cautious too of like, hey, last month we had a more Discraft and Innova heavy box, so this month let's have a more whatever heavy box. So we try to be very cautious and aware and plan this out. I think a lot of people just don't realize how much time, energy, effort, and planning is going into the sub boxes. And so if we were to offer the overstable, understable mixed, there's some people that would scratch the itch for, like that's what they want, but it would just turn into a stock. You would lose the curated vibe, you would lose the theme vibe, and it would just turn into a stock mystery box, which is like, we could do that. That's what most people do for subscription boxes. That's just not what we're trying to do. So, yeah. Hopefully that explains it, though. Disc Seeker said, random question, have you thrown the Peak from Latitude 64? Is it basically Latitude 64's version of the West Side Disc Maiden, or are they different? So I have thrown the Peak. I don't think I've thrown the Maiden. I believe the Peak is just a beaded Pure, so it's essentially flies like a little bit more overstable than a Pure, but the big thing is it's just going to hold that stability for longer. So is it the same as the Maiden? I don't know. I'd have to go look at a Maiden to see, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Caleb Collins said, what's going to replace the MD3? So currently, because if y'all didn't see, the MD3 got banned from my bag for the rest of the year, courtesy of one of our videos we did. Well, really courtesy of y'all voting in the comments and one of the videos we did. So right now, I just put in 2 hexes. I have one flippy hex and one little bit more overstable hex. I used to be pretty good with the hex, so we're just going to try to go back to that. I think that in general, the hex is a little bit less stable than the MD3, and it's less comfortable in my hand. So it's definitely not an MD3, but I feel like it's the next best thing. So I'm trying the hex right now. I could see myself going to Rock 3s. I could see myself trying out the J, but for right now, we're going with the hex. So what's funny is actually the only one I have in here is the one that Brad framed. Brad did this for me. I showed it last week, which is very nice. But there's the like Break 68 MD3s that came out. That one's in there. I literally got the Break 68 MD3, and the only time I got to throw it was when we did, like, it hasn't come out yet, but we did a like farewell MD3, my last round throwing the MD3 video, and that's the only time I got to throw my Break 68 MD3. So it's waiting for me next year. End of this year, I'll put the MD3 back in, and it'll be a beautiful reuniting. But until then. ZJ Thomas 2000 said, long question, but do you guys offer warranty on the Atlas bag? The metal clasp on the Stag, he means on the bag, or on the strap, broke the other day. Just wondering, because I don't remember if it came with one. So it depends on how long you've had it. We don't... Brad handles most of the, actually Jason handles the customer service for Atlas, but Brad and Jason make a lot of those decisions. I don't know. Typically they're in the chat, so they might already have answered it, but I don't know if we have a set foundation care on our website, right? It's 30 days. You can try it, use it, abuse it, however. But if you just got the bag, 100%, we will probably just send you a whole new bag. I don't know if we just have the metal clasp. It depends also if we have the same bag in stock. But if you just got it, for sure, if you've had it for a year or two, we'll probably try to maybe get a replacement clasp for you. But I don't know if we have a strict 60-day warranty or something like that. But we'll bend over backwards to try to fix it. So just email. You should be able to find if you go to atlasdgs.com, there should be a contact button, or you can DM us on social, and both of those will go to Jason, and Jason will take care of you. So, yeah. Whoop. Luke said, would you be willing to share your story of how you became a follower of Jesus? Absolutely. So I was born and raised in a Christian home, grew up going to church. Even went to a Christian school. And so I first said the prayer when I was 7. I remember being in a chapel in elementary school, and basically the pastor, he wasn't trying to scare people into getting saved, but he was talking about heaven and hell, and was talking about spending eternity in hell. And as a 7-year-old, that sounded terrifying. So I just was like, oh, if I say this prayer, it'll save me. Boom, said the prayer. Let's go. And that was that. But obviously, at that point, I didn't understand the gospel, right? I might have understood the gospel, but I didn't fully accept and surrender my life. But I just always lived like, oh, I'm good now. I'm a Christian. It is what it is. So, obviously continue to go to church, continue to grow up in youth group, all of that. And then when I was in 8th grade, funny enough, I had a history teacher. Mr. Combs is his name. And he was talking about somehow around this time, Justin Bieber was obviously the hot commodity. And a girl in my class, was talking about Justin Bieber and said something about Justin Bieber being a Christian. And my history teacher basically was walking through I'm not going to say he's not a Christian, but here's some evidence, of what a Christian's supposed to be like, right? And he started walking through how you can inspect people's fruit, how once you are a Christian, if you're truly surrendered to Christ, there will be obedience, there will be certain steps, and they were going back and forth, right? And eventually he broke it down. He's like, let me just put it this way, right? If before Christ you were a triangle, after Christ you'll be a circle. Your life will be changed. There will be a difference in your heart, your desire, all of that. Before you were a sinner, now you're a sinner saved by grace. And I was looking at all that, and I was just sitting there, like you do as an 8th grader, just zoned out. And I was staring at it. I was like, that never happened to me. I just said a prayer. I didn't change anything about my life. I didn't commit to follow anything. I just said a prayer, and then it all clicked. And I was like, oh. And so then in math class, the next period, we were I don't even remember what we were learning, but I was just sitting there, and I couldn't shake it. I was just the Holy Spirit was weighing on me, and I just knew that I needed to truly commit and surrender my life to Christ. And so that's when that happened. So I always make a joke that Justin Bieber led me to Christ. But yeah, it was actually, I still meet with that teacher, the history teacher, once a month, once every other week. We'll grab coffee and stuff. So it was awesome. But yeah, that's my testimony. That's my story. Push Pop 13 said, which tournaments are you planning on going to the rest of the season? So we will for sure be at Des Moines. There should be an announcement as to why we're going to be there soon, but the Discmania Challenge there, we will for sure be at that one. Obviously, we'll be at the Tour Championship. We'll most likely be at USDGC. Even if Foundation doesn't have a presence there, I will probably be there. My wife loves going. My son always wants to watch disc golf, so Foundation in some capacity will be at USDGC. We'll most likely be down there vending again. But Tour Championship will be at Discmania Challenge. I don't know what full presence we'll be at. Trevor and I will be there. I don't know if we'll be vending there. We're still kind of working through that. But I think those are the only ones on the radar. Discmania Challenge out in Des Moines, Tour Championship, and probably USDGC. I think that's going to be kind of the three. Nolan said, how do you decide what niche brand y'all stock? I'm a fan of a niche brand and of y'all, but I can't buy that brand from Foundation, which is a bummer. So we decided a lot based just on demand. At the end of the day, we're a small business. We're trying to grow, and having cash tied up in inventory that doesn't move is just a tough spot, because that means we can't put cash into things like custom stamps or into videos or into whatever else we're trying to do. So right now, we basically, if there's the easiest way for a niche brand to get on our shelf is if they pay for an integration where we're doing a blank disc only video. And we haven't done one of those in a while, but we used to do them semi-frequently. And what typically in the negotiation with that, we end up getting a shipment of stock discs in alongside it. But that kind of works really great as a 1-2 because we promote the niche disc, so the brand gets promotion from it, but it also is a great promotion for them on our site. And then we can gauge how much they actually sell, and whether or not we're going to reorder. So that's kind of how we decide, is just based on what there's hype around. If enough people keep asking us to stock something, we definitely will. We're not against stocking any brands, but it's just kind of when it comes down to it, if I don't know if a niche brand off the top of my head that we don't stock, but if we'll just say that what's a company in front of me? Wells Fargo. I got a Wells Fargo piece of mail here. If Wells Fargo was a niche brand and, we're going to spend $500 on a Wells Fargo order, or we could spend $500 buying MVP trails, the MVP trail is going to sell, and that's just going to be a better investment of our money. So as a company that's just, we are bootstrapped. We started with, I think we literally started Foundation 6 years ago with like $2,000. So every dollar that we've made has been just, having to be wise with where we're putting money. That's why we just don't carry every disc under the sun, is because, even with the companies we do carry, there's sometimes where we buy discs that are going to sit for an extended period of time. And that's just tying up cash that could be used elsewhere. So we always are trying to be very wise of putting stuff on our shelf that's going to sell within a reasonable time period, so that the cash flow stays, versus just having it all tied up and stuff on our shelf that we're eventually going to have to sell for pennies on the dollar. So, yeah. Let me get caught up on Instagram if there's anything else. Man, I have to scroll a lot. Jake said, is there a course out there you haven't been able to play that you wish you could? A lot of stuff in Europe I haven't been able to play. Would love to do that. What was the term that just happened? Bad Rock Creek? Is that where it was in Kansas City? Bad something? Bad was in there and Rock was in there. I know that, but the Kansas City course, that looked awesome. And I heard there's a really great course close by there too. So that's now on my list. But yeah, there's plenty of courses that I haven't played that I'm excited about playing at some point. Let me try to get another Instagram question from the Instagram story. Giort20 said, do you think Gannon's season has been underrated? So I'm actually going to say yes on this so far, mainly because I think people compare Gannon's current season to Gannon's last season, where he won 9 times. And so anything short of a win every week is just a disappointment to people. When if you actually look at his season, I think he's went 12th, 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, I think. I don't know if those are the exact, but he basically had a 12th place finish, then he's been inside the top 5. And so if you look at like his average finishing place after his win, it's probably actually higher so far this year than his average finishing place overall of last year. So the difference is just, we got so used to Gannon's going to win every weekend that when he started with 4 non-wins, it just felt like a slow start, when really, going into this weekend, he was already the number 1 player on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I believe point standing wise without a win, if I'm not mistaken. And so the dude's just unreal. The win was inevitable. Of course it happened. And this is just the first of, I'd bet we're going to see a 5 win season. I think it's going to be hard to do 9 again, but I think 4 or 5 is very reasonable for Gannon. And so I think it's underrated just because of who he is. Similar to Paul, Ricky, Calvin, everyone has this like pressure and expectation on them to win. And so when they don't, there's a letdown when it's like, well, Paul Macbeth's having a phenomenal start to his season, but there's just an expectation of winning. Same thing, Ricky is a little bit more up and down, but there's just an expectation of winning. And so when they don't win, it feels like a letdown. So I would say yes, I think his season so far has been underrated. Shay said, do you know why Trevor's trying to start beef with me, and would you like me to lean into it? You do what you want, Shay. I have no idea where Trevor's coming from. I'm not sure. Just if you're going to send a glitter package, make sure it's addressed to Trevor. And if there's a way to make sure it doesn't go off in our mailbox, that'd be awesome. I also don't know what the heck's wrong with my webcam that keeps glitching. I'm sorry y'all having to deal with that. It's annoying me, so I'm sure it's annoying y'all, because every time I look at my screen, it just is flickering. But, okay, let's see if there's anything else on Instagram. Oh, IGWT said, do you or can you do a video of how you and the Foundation team came together in your history? I can run you through quickly how the full-time employees ended up at Foundation, at least. So when Foundation started, it was me, Paul, and Zach. Me and Zach were on the Liberty team, and Paul Paul's now wife, then girlfriend, was also on the Liberty team. Actually, when Foundation started, Hannah and Paul might have been married. I think they were. Well, Hannah and Paul were married when Foundation started. But so we all knew each other from college disc golf. And so that was when Foundation started. And then Brody got into disc golf, wanted to train with Paul, came to Lynchburg in 2020. In January, I met Brody then. Brody's always been business focused in pretty much whatever he does. And so when he was actually talked to Paul, like, hey, we should start some type of like disc golf business together. And Paul's like, I kind of already got something going on. Do you want to get into it? And so around the time Brody bought in was also around the time Zach left to move to Dallas. So then it was me, Brody, and Paul. And we needed someone to handle like the day-to-day order fulfillment. So we brought Trevor in at that time as a part-time employee. Trevor was another person who was on the college disc golf team. He had just, I believe in 2020, he had just graduated college. And he was just kind of hanging around here. He was about to start working at J. Crew, I believe it was. And we just had like a part-time job. And so instead of working part-time in their warehouse, he worked part-time in our warehouse, which was Paul's garage at the time. So it started part-time. He started getting on to Grip Locked at that point because I needed a co-host. And then by the fall of that year, I believe it was, that he went full-time. And then shortly thereafter, Connor DM'd me or messaged me. Actually, I think it was on GroupMe, which is what we used as the college team thing. And we all knew Connor he also played college disc golf with us. So he was on a lower team, so I didn't know Connor that well at the time. But he basically messaged me and said like that he knew how to edit videos if we ever needed help. So I was like, hey, you come and shoot some for us, edit, and we'll see. So he started part-time just shooting and editing videos for us. It started with I think it started with the Halloween special. That was one of his first ones back in like 2021, maybe somewhere around there. And then Connor went full-time with us shortly after that. And so then it was just me, Trevor, and Connor, and we needed extra hands in the warehouse. So the next guy we brought in was Silas. I met Silas through my church. Him and I served together on the tech team. And I don't remember exactly how we got to where he was helping us, but I think he was working at Olive Garden. I think he just wanted more hours somewhere, and I told him like, hey, if you don't really care about what your job is, because he didn't play disc golf at this time. He might have played like once, and so he joined on as just like a part-time, inventory person. Around that time, one of my best friends, Tyler Stout, also was working for us, but he was here very short period. He basically was going to school and waiting to get a full-time job and just wanted something. I think he basically just wanted to hang out with us. So he worked for us I think he did like 2 or 3 shifts. But so that was then, it was me, Trevor, Connor, Silas, and this was around the time that Brody moved back to Lynchburg. And so then Brody, when he lived in Lynchburg, and Paul was still an owner, but when Brody lived in Lynchburg, Brody was like in the office pretty much every day, filling orders, shooting videos, because he moved to Lynchburg basically to grow Foundation. And so then from there, the next thing that happened that eventually would affect Foundation is I met Brad at church. He served on the music team. He was the drummer. But he kind of served on the tech team a little bit because he also did some drone footage and stuff. So I got to know Brad a little bit. He started playing disc golf. And then shortly after starting to play disc golf, he started to design a disc golf bag because he just didn't, I don't remember exactly his reasoning behind it, but he didn't really like whatever bag he was using. So he just started to design a disc golf bag, brought me the prototype at our church and was like, hey, what do you think of this? Do you like it? And I kind of liked it. I told him, here's a few changes that I think we would make. And then we met, got lunch, and I ended up investing in buying part of Atlas. And that was also, I brought Trevor alongside with me because I was like, hey, I think this would be really good for both of us in this because we could market this together. So we bought into Atlas. And then shortly thereafter that, Brody bought into Atlas. And then shortly thereafter that, Brad came to me and was like, hey, I don't know if you ever need, or Brad came to me and was like, hey, I don't know if you ever need someone to just kind of be a director of operations, chief operating officer, that type of a thing to just kind of run the retail side. But if so, I would love to put my name in the hat. And so Brody and I talked about it, and that's how we ended up hiring on Brad. And I think by this point, Silas was doing editing. I don't know. At some point, Silas transitioned out of inventory into editing. And so we brought in Brad, and then Jason, I believe, was friends with Robbie from Alabama and was a Foundation fan and a Robbie fan, and he was moving up to Lynchburg because his kids were going to Liberty, and he wanted to be closer up here. And so he basically just wanted a part-time job because he's a retired veteran, and so he just wanted a part-time job. And so we hired him just part-time at that point. And then he eventually became, he was just like filling orders, warehouse worker part-time, and then became our full-time customer service person. So that's how the core Foundation team all came together. A lot of different connections, but yeah. There you go. Let me see. Let me scroll down and still get caught back up here. Oh, this is actually a good question. Wild Runs Disc Golf said, wasn't Josh from Overthrow part of the early days too? So no, that's actually a funny story. So me and Josh did have a disc golf business, if you want to call it that. We never really made any money. But this was 2016, I believe, because it kind of all fell apart when I went to Australia, which was in 2017. But Josh from Overthrow and me started a channel called Know Your Discs. And, our whole idea was to do disc reviews, and we had still, I think, a great idea. But we haven't, no one's really executed on it. But we had people from multiple different skill levels. So we'd have someone who had never played disc golf before, someone who was intermediate, low advanced player, and then someone who had more pro level distance, not like touring pro, but at that time, basically, you had someone who was throwing 200 feet, someone who was throwing 350, and someone who was throwing 425. Those were the three skill levels, and we just reviewed discs. And so that started Know Your Discs, and we grew it a little bit. We had a blog alongside it, and we had just signed in 2017. We signed an affiliate deal with Infinite, and our whole goal was basically we were doing disc reviews, linking to their site, using the affiliate money to buy more discs, to do more disc reviews, so that eventually, hopefully, we could monetize YouTube and actually make money from it. And so Josh was more the face of it. I was the cameraman and editor. For the most part, I was in some content, but for the most part, I was the cameraman and editor. And then I went to Australia with Paul, and I was gone for a week and a half, and I shot what was back then called the McBeast Diaries. I shot that for Paul in Australia, and it just kind of fell apart. We just never really did anything when I got back. So, yeah, that was that. So, yeah, Josh and I did have something, but it wasn't Foundation. It was something different. Jackson said, you played college disc golf. I did. So that's what this middle row of trophies back there were from. The two on the outside are from Seco, and the middle one's my All-American trophy from my senior year. But yeah, I loved college disc golf. Played all 4 years. Absolutely loved it. So if you have a chance to play college disc golf, do it. It was awesome. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions on YouTube. Steve said we need more running vlogs. I'm trying to do more running content on Instagram. I just set a goal to run a sub 20-minute 5K, and I really don't know how to do it. And so I'm trying to create more content on Instagram, mainly just to get feedback from people, because there's a lot of knowledgeable people out there, and I'm not one of them. So I'm very excited to document that more. I don't know about full running vlogs on YouTube, just because it takes a lot of time. A lot of time for not a lot of reward. So I did it because I loved it, but I don't want to keep vlogging every time I run, because that kind of takes away from why I run. So yeah, but I'm trying to do some more running content on Instagram to document that, a speed goal instead of a distance goal. Jackson said, have I played Pier Park before? I'm playing my first tournament there next week. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever played it, but Theron Hobbs said, what do I do for the production team? I'm assuming he means at church. So I've worn pretty much every hat at some point, but currently I serve every other week running the slides for church. The like pro presenter, lyric slides, that stuff. I also do graphic design. I just volunteer graphic design stuff for my church. So whenever we get, typically what will end up happening is one of the pastors will put together a like graphic for the sermon or the sermon series or whatever, and it's vertical, and they'll send it to me, and I just remake it horizontal. So that's typically what I typically do. I'll also design some signs and stuff like that, but the big thing I do is just every other week run the slides. Danny Chill 96 said, tips for someone that's trying to get into running, potentially wanting to run their first half marathon this fall. First off, awesome. Congrats. You won't regret it. It's awesome. Run way easier than you think. Like when you first start out, maybe even just walk with some running mixed in. Monitor your heart rate. Zone 2 training, low aerobic training, which if you don't know what that is, basically the easiest way to figure it out is you take 180, subtract your age, whatever that number is what you roughly want your average heart rate to be. Typically, that's going to be in like low zone 3, but throw all that out the window. Ignore all of that. Just keep your average heart rate on a run around that. You can monitor it with like an Apple Watch. I use a Garmin personally, but it all does the same thing. Monitor your heart rate during your run, during your walk. Start off slow. I would probably do right now, start a like couch to 5K training program. You can find a bunch of those online. And so couch to 5K will basically get you from I've never ran before to running a 5K. And then what you can do is keep running around, you'll probably by the end of that run close to 10 miles in a week. Keep running about 10 miles a week until probably like 12 to 16 weeks out from whatever half marathon you want to run, and then do a 5K to half marathon training plan. And try to find one that's not based on pace, but find one that's based on effort. Because your first half marathon, unless you just have a lot of cardio history, ignore pace altogether. Because all pace is going to do is you're going to think that you should be running a lot faster than you are. You're going to push yourself to run faster. You're going to push your heart rate into higher zones. And then you're going to fail to actually build your aerobic base. And I'm speaking from experience because this is exactly what I did. And basically what that's going to mean is you're going to end up still running slow. It's just going to suck the whole time. Versus if you build your aerobic base, which is what I did for my second half marathon, I think it was, then not only will you run faster, but it won't suck the whole time. So start slow. I would do a couch to 5K as soon as you can training plan, and then maintain your running fitness, run consistently, and then do a 5K to half marathon training plan after that. Ooh, Terry Fullwider. Let me exit out of this. This is confusing me. Terry says, you're obviously a super competitive guy to a fault. Yes, I'm very competitive. I ended up taking some flack in the comments about a few of your tactics. How do you deal with that? So I mean, a lot of times it's valid, first off, but I think where the only time it really gets to me that upsets me is when people just assume something about my character based on my competitiveness, because they fail to understand that I'm with people I'm most comfortable with in these videos, like some of my best friends. And so I think competitiveness looks a lot different in that case versus, for instance, this is probably going to shock a lot of people, but from high school, I have multiple sportsmanships awards, which probably when you hear that, you think that's the opposite of what you would expect. But when I'm around, if you were to play with me in a competitive environment at a disc golf tournament, I'm going to be very competitive with myself. But, I'm going to be just a very easygoing, joking around card mate, right? But once we're, best friends, and now I can, mess with you and joke with you, that's what I'm going to do. Because at the end of the day, I am very competitive. And, that's just kind of how... I don't know. That's just how I've always been with my best friends. I think a lot of people are that way, but I think that where it comes it doesn't fully translate is like in like the Amazing Race video, for instance, is we're like two different teams, but like so it feels a little bit more like a structured or organized type thing versus just a bunch of friends going out and having fun playing a game. But majority of the comments just go in one ear and out the other, because if something's valid, I've probably already thought about it. I care about how my internal team, like the people at Foundation, I care about their opinions a lot. I care about my family's opinions. And I care about how I'm represented, but there's also sometimes where I'm stirring the pot intentionally to stir the pot to make the content better. And so if I stir the pot to make the content better and someone's like chirping about that in the comments, that's exactly what I was trying to do. So I ignore that as well, because it's like, well, yeah, I did that because the video was very boring. And so I had to like do something. If not, it was just gonna be a blowout video with nothing to talk about. But yeah, really the only comments that actually bother me is when it makes people assume something about my character. Then I'm like, okay, that one makes me want to reply, but the majority of it, just let it go in one ear and out the other, roll off your back. If there some of it, constructive criticism, I always try to take, because obviously I'm not perfect, no one is, but there's a lot of things you can learn. And so I try to take those and take them to heart, but sometimes people just throw insults, and I just ignore all that. That it was a lot easier for me to say that 6 years in than when you first start posting content. Because when I first start posting content, you go from the only people saying anything on your Instagram are your friends and family, to random people are now commenting about it, and it feels like your friends and family are still the ones commenting. So it feels like people that know you really well are the ones throwing shots at you, and so that hurts when you first start content. But once you've been in content, you build a thicker skin to it, because you start to realize that it's just people see it through whatever lens they're looking through. So yeah, but I do think that most people would be surprised if I was like at a random disc golf tournament and ended up on your card. Again, I'd be very competitive with myself, and I might get upset at myself. I'm not gonna throw my hat or punch my bag or kick my bag over. I'm gonna internally be upset at myself, but then I'm just gonna be joking with you the rest of the round. So I think that it would be funny, but it is what it is. Let me try to get caught up on Instagram. I always get so far behind on this. Oh, people are saying the Hot Ones challenge, not the Cool Ranch Dorito. Yeah. It's the internet. People will always squawk about something no matter what you do or say. I think letting it go in an ear and out the others, but it's best approach. Yeah, I try. That's what I try to do. But I mean, there's also, if it ever is negatively affecting the content, like there has been times where I thought stuff was going to come off one way and it didn't. And now there's like, oh, shoot, this video legitimately, not just people, because the other thing you have to remember is, and I even have to remind, my wife made a TikTok that went viral. She ended up deleting it because she was like, I don't want to deal with this. But one thing I was reminding her, and you have to remember, is realistically, if you watch yourself on social media, right? When I'm scrolling, unless something's really funny, if I just like a post, I just enjoyed it, I'm never going to comment, right? If something's crazy funny or was insane, I might say something. But for the most part, if I just like a post, I'll probably actually like it, or I might do nothing and scroll by. The only time you get fired up and ready to comment is when you disagree. So if you look at your, piece of content you made on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever, the comments on it are going to feel way more negative than the actual general perception of it, because again, the people who are going to comment a lot of times are the ones who are passionate about something that they have to make their opinion known. And most of the time, something that is generally well liked or is inconsequential, you don't have an opinion to be made known. You just scroll by it. So that's the other thing you have to think about, is one thing we look at is, or I look at, but is if there's a bunch of comments that are negative, like I said, I try to read between the lines and be like, okay, is some of this actually stuff I need to change? sometimes, like I said, it was something where I intentionally stirred the pot, and so I'm like, yeah, nah, dip. There's comments about that. It was intentional. Other times it's something where it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I probably shouldn't do X, Y, or Z. But then I always look at the like to dislike ratio, the views to comment ratio, how many people are actually commenting negative things versus people saying this is the greatest video I've ever seen, so on and so forth. And like when I look into that realm, then it's a lot easier to just take it on the chin and move on. It's just like, okay, in one ear and out the other. But I think it's important to hear people's feedback too, because that's how you adjust to make content that the general public likes. Which I think overall we've done a good job over the last 6 years, but there's always room for improvement for sure. Okay, we're going to finish off with a few more questions to wrap this thing up. My wife said, what's it like to have the cutest child on the planet? We're a little biased, but, it's great. Neon is TCG said, have you guys hit any Wisconsin courses? We have so many nice courses. The only Wisconsin course I've ever played is the one on Ben Askren's property. I flew out there for the celebrity pro-am they did a few years ago. Because we were going to meet with Ben Askren about something. And so we hung out there, and so I played his course, but that's the only disc golf I played in Wisconsin, as far as I know. Jordan Lee Daniel said, what kind of coffee you got today? I actually already drank my coffee at home. I believe it was an Ethiopian from, my mom brought it back from Oregon. I think it was from, where is it from? I don't remember where it's from, but it was from somewhere in Oregon. So right now I'm just drinking an Element, sparkling Element. But he also said, what's your day look like after this? And funny enough, I'm actually filming a day in the life for Instagram today. So just check that out tomorrow. And there you go. You'll have that question answered. Tanner said, did you really fix the slice? My swing's in a bad spot, Tanner. I don't even really want to talk about it. I'm working my tail off on it, but I think I've done a good job on... The problem is the next video that'll come out on the golf channel is my Break 100, the first episode of Break 100, and I was in the middle of fixing my swing during that. I'm still kind of in the middle of it, but it went bad. It went really bad. It's not spoiling anything because you're going to know I'm not close from 2 holes in. I think it's going to be a very entertaining video. But that didn't go well, so you'll check that out this Saturday. But my iron swing is feeling really good as of now, as of like a few days ago. Driver swing, I basically went out and I'll still hit my block slice like I always do, and I was getting mad at myself. So I'm like, you know what, Hunter, just hit one left. Just hit one left. Whatever you do, hit one left. And I did. I was like, okay, finally, now let's straighten it back up. Now I've finally closed the club face enough. It's going left. And I can't get it to go straight. Now it just only goes left. So did I fix the slice? Kind of. But now, I'm talking like, I was telling Trevor, the difference between where my balls landed back-to-back shots, I hit a block slice way right. And then I hit, I think it's called a snap hook. This is the new world for me, the snap hook. Way left. And the difference between where my 2 balls landed in back-to-back shots was no joke, 150 to 200 yards. Like just... They were in opposite zip codes. So I'm in a really tough spot. I'm in a really tough spot right now. But hey, got to get worse to get better. So I believe that's where we're going to wrap it up. Appreciate all of you tuning in, whether you're on Instagram or on YouTube or watching it on YouTube after. Don't forget to check out all the fun stuff, foundationdisc.com. Just a few stuff that's already live on the site. The Building Your Game. We have Zone OS's and Heats. We have the Foundation Modern stamp on some Innova stuff. Halo Destroyers, Halo Wraiths, Champ Its, Champ Toros, and then the People's Champ, Grip Locked, off-season contest winner, People's Champ, Trails. So there you go. Oh, this is an important one. Crute said the block right and the snap hook are the same miss, just timing's different. Golf's so hard, man. I tell you what, disc golf came so much easier to me, and I'm sure there's people out there that golf came easier to them than disc golf. I'm not one of them. But long road ahead of me. But hey, we'll keep documenting on Foundation Golf channel. Check it out over there. Appreciate y'all tuning in. See you next week.